Episode 6. After the main story, my goal is to collect every collection box, as well as S-rank each level. Hopefully S-ranking shouldn't be too hard, but collection is actually what has me most worried, I suppose. Of the remaining stages that I have, I pretty much need to revisit everything at least once, whether it's for an S-rank or some collection thing. There were maybe 1 or 2 cases where I got everything all at once, mainly in the challenges where it was easier to do all of that. But for the most part, I'm revisiting everything. I plan for this episode probably mainly just collection on the main stages, not the challenge levels. I looked up where some of these are, or most of them, the ones that I'm missing anyway, but I don't have them fresh in my memory too well. Hopefully once I enter each of these individual stages, I'll be able to recognize a location where I'm missing something. Though I may miss things 1 or 2 times the first run through. Hopefully, at the very least, I don't have to pause the episode to look things up where they are again. Before we get into all that though, I did want to visit this place. I'm pretty sure I've unlocked all the journal entries. I did not. Guess they're still floating around somewhere. 2 more of them in the overworld. It's also been a while since I last played, so I'm going to have to remember how to actually play the game. I'm sure it'll all come back as muscle memory though. Just looking around, I don't see any of those floating balloon things around. The ones that had all the journal entries. Unless there are some extra journals not in those balloon things. I'm not sure where to find them. Could be that they're in this mode thing. Doom Zone. It seems to add in extra challenges, something for later, I think. And makes the existing challenges and bosses harder? I didn't know that was a thing. Now this is what the end of the game was like. I don't see any of the balloons. Oh, there's one. I guess they were hiding around over here, for some reason in the challenge zone. Looks like we also have some new conversations unlocked. Or could these be the conversations that were available right at the end of the story that maybe I missed? Could have gone straight into the final boss, I don't remember. You can probably get up there maybe. Oh, okay. Guess you have to swing into that one. Keep making the same mistake.
Out of my way.
Alright, we got it somehow. Not sure if that was the intended way to do that. And one more, somewhere up high. Or not. Where'd I see it? Over there, on top of the roof. I wonder how the bosses get harder. Actually, if we go in this... Yeah, there's a different time for it, obviously, but... Not sure if I want to necessarily do all the bosses on hard mode with S rank. Maybe I'll do that. If other stages don't get harder themselves and only the bosses, then that could be something to do. Maybe over here. Oh. I'll thread the needle, I guess. Yeah, there are these, but I need to get a little bit higher up. The Sonic Heroes outfits, or models, really only Rouge has a different outfit. Unless I'm remembering something about Omega's design that changed, or not remembering that. Maybe we can just... Same thing we did last time, barely get in range. It's probably way up higher on the roof. Oh no, I missed one. Not sure where that's from. I see a dinosaur. Is that Sonic Heroes? Well, I don't see a way up normally. We can't just use the Doom Wing. Do I get up there again? Start is over here somehow, I think. In the story, they just kind of start you over there, don't they? Right up on that ledge. Looks like there's some way to grab onto it. It probably would have been faster just to get the balloons the way I did the first time. And just get the last balloon that I was missing. I feel like this is probably the intended way to do it. If it's in the Doom Zone, maybe they want you to use the Doom Wing. Oh, do those? I see.
Unleash the power.
Where does that go? Oh, directly up to the boss? Well, that's not where we're going. Ah, No. Stop. Out of the way. Thank you. Okay, now... maybe a little higher. I think that's good enough. Do want to get on the roof, though. Uh-oh. In case there are any boxes up there, I don't want to have to do this climb a second time. Now, I thought you went perfectly horizontal with the Doom Wing, but it does look like you maybe lose a little bit of height as you go. It was described as gliding, I think, previously. Or it could be perfectly horizontal, I don't know. Alright, and that's all of them. Let's return back to the normal zone. If anything, this is at least calmer. Kind of oppressively white, though. Now. Before I do actually start the collection, I did want to read through this. This might be most of the episode. That's fine. Just to make it easier, I'll probably just use the read menu. Entry number 170. I deciphered the engravings of the ancient ring I found on a previous dig in the redacted jungle and calculated the location of a fabled flying paradise. Angel Island, I assume. I went alone to verify my findings and was rewarded with the spectacle of an angelic island. Haha. The land was vast, lush, and hosted a number of biomes in close proximity to each other. I believe I could see an entire floating city at one point. Most majestic of all was a shrine devoted to what appeared to be a massive redacted. Probably emerald. Could this be the legendary Master Emerald? Redacted. I dared not approach to overstay my welcome. As much as I wanted to explore every inch of the island, I felt it was a sacred land. Just setting foot on its soil felt taboo. I don't know if any civilization remains. The land is vast and my stay was brief. But the majesty of that emerald and shine will stay with me for the rest of my life. If this was 50 years ago, Knuckles wouldn't have been around, would he? When was Knuckles born? I'm sure it was some kind of story, maybe explored in, I don't know, comics or something. That's kind of my go-to explanation for anything, but just within the actual games themselves, it feels weird to kind of think about. There is lore, but it's so rarely shoved in your face, even if you go out of your way to find it. I mean, that's what you'd expect from a Sonic game, I guess. Entry number 185. I am about to embark on the most ambitious project of my life. The Earth's first orbital space colony will be the 9th wonder of the world. What was the 8th? It will be a place of science, researching all manner of ways to improve our home below. Seeing as it is a vessel meant to preserve life amidst the harshness of space, I've christened it the Ark. It shall be a vessel to pass on the value of life, and peace to the next generation. And while most of the megastructure will be hidden within the base planetoid, I may have gone a little self-indulgent in the design. Oh. Wow. Incredible. The only real concern is the source of the funding. While the United Federation supports us, most of the financing is coming from Redacted. I have no illusions about what they'll want, but I'm building the Ark to preserve life and not end it. While I have my concerns, I'm a genius, so I'm sure I'll figure something out when the time comes. I guess that would be Gun. That's Redacted, giving the funding, wanting them to build weapons. It kind of ties in a little bit of the discrepancy that I felt between what the Ark was kind of touted to be, place of peace and life or whatever, for researching that, but kind of ending up being, or feeling more about weaponry, feeling more like a giant weapon itself. I mean, it is a giant weapon, the Eclipse Cannon, but I guess there's more to it than just the Eclipse Cannon. When they introduce it in Sonic Adventure 2, that's pretty much the first thing you know about it. It's a giant cannon. But from the beginning, I guess it was more than that. Already read this page before, but yeah, I guess the first entries are just about Gerald Robotnik's family and Maria's birth, and I guess that's kind of the starting point. Well, number 162 is a starting point, but number 2 starts with the family, and I guess that's all about Maria. Is this the next page? Really? It goes crazier quicker than I thought. A lot of pages are missing then. Entry number 389. Life and work aboard the Ark has been exciting, for good and for ill. As a positive, we've acquired one of the legendary Redacted for our research, probably Chaos Emerald. They're said to hold unlimited power, and preliminary tests suggest some effect on space-time. Bending reality to one's will. Imagine the possibilities. Sadly, Redacted is doing just that, but in all the wrong ways, probably gone. Their desire for weapons research is becoming increasingly overt and decreasingly polite. I used my clout to get a direct line to the president to ask him to intervene. He said he would, but then asked me for something equally obscene. He wants me to discover a means to immortality. I aim to improve life, not pervert it. Everything gives way to entropy. The concept is laughable, as intangible as a shadow. I refused him outright. In retrospect, perhaps I could have been more diplomatic about it. I found myself on edge. Political pressures aside, I'm told Redacted, Maria, is sick with no clear diagnosis. I wish I could look into it myself, but I'm needed aboard the Ark. Hopefully this will pass and she'll recover soon. It's too precious to be left to suffer. Yep, there's the Redacted. Entry Redacted, the all-powerful Redacted. Entry Redacted. The Redacted held the power to bind a soul. Entry Redacted. The Redacted destroyed the entire... Bind the soul? Not the emerald, surely. Maybe the aliens, the Doom... What are they called again? The Black Arms? That seems a little bit early. If this entry happens between 389 and 402 on the next page, why does he go crazy, then go back to being normal? Maybe not. Maybe this isn't entirely chronological, or at a later point, he wrote over his previous entries with this? I don't know. What's this a picture of, anyway? Can't really tell. Entry number 402. I've uncovered a most interesting specimen from the warehouse. It was first recovered by my son, Redacted, the archaeologist one, I assume. Who became quite the archaeologist. Just read the next line. I believe it to be some sort of puppet or a robot made by an ancient people. At first I didn't think anything of it, but when I was experimenting on the Redacted, Gizoid I presume, it began to move. This suggests the possibility that even the ancient civilizations could harness the power of the blank, or Redacted, Chaos Emeralds. When I was researching the various papers related to the Redacted and this robot, Chaos Emeralds I assume, discovered there was a possibility that this robot was something incredible. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this robot may be the cause of the destruction of the fourth great civilization. I'm not sure I believe it just yet, though. And there he is, Emerald himself. Entry number 407. I am no longer able to ignore the possibility that this robot did in fact destroy the fourth great civilization. Interesting, wait. It looks like there's a lot that you can't read on the page itself that you can only read if you actually open the read UI, because it's burnt away. I have discovered a stone tablet, and then there's some burned away stuff. But this says, I have discovered a stone tablet that explains as much. Yeah, they give you more here. According to the tablet, when the figure falls from the heavens and the stone of the gods is joined, all that exists will become one again. Though it is difficult to believe this robot has been watching my movements and mimicking all that I do. I was amazed by my scans of this being. Surprisingly, reams and reams of data scrolled and caused my most powerful computer to crash. More intriguing was that the data was all about melee combat and weapons of that age. Eventually, if this being is ever restored to its former state, it will put all that data to use, and recreate all the weaponry and combat abilities that it once had. And that's not all. If my guesses are correct, it will also have the ability to absorb modern weaponry as well. What have I done? I have uncovered a horrible weapon. Entry number 428. It's been a trying time, to say the least. Redacted Maria was diagnosed with neuroimmunodeficiency syndrome. There is no cure. Yet. I pulled some strings to have her aboard the Ark for treatment and assessment. The low-gravity environment should help her keep her symptoms manageable. Her family has been less than enthusiastic with my decision. Despite everything, she remains the most positive person in the room. Most of the staff here left their families back on Earth, so I worried she'd feel lonely. Instead, she's become the adoptive daughter of every researcher on the Ark. Moreover, she's become like a big sister to little Redacted, Abraham, the Ark's happy little accident over the past few years. I didn't know he was born on the Ark. Huh. It's funny that they call him a happy little accident in the Sonic game, but I guess that's a diplomatic way of putting it. I guess they're not allowed to have kids on the Ark if they call it an accident. Anyway, the President keeps prompting me with his request to unlock the mysteries of life. Perhaps with his funding and clout, I can find a means to cure Redacted Maria while chasing that shadow. There they are, Abraham and Maria. We only ever see her standing and walking around in cutscenes. But it sounds like it was pretty bad the way that she phrased it. Sometimes she can't even see, I think she said. Entry number 515. Redacted has dropped all pretense and is demanding weapons research in exchange for continued funding. I promised the President I'd begin work on Project Shadow, but even he can't get them to back down. It appears I have a gun to my head on the matter. Ho ho. There's no point in redacting if, well, whatever. Years ago, I discovered records of an ancient god of destruction called Chaos. It was said to command the fury and force of the ocean, or something to that effect. I've begun developing a basic AI-driven apparatus that can generate cohesion in water and produce controlled shapes for basic actions. I've told the top brass that these can turn any body of water into an autonomous weapon. Deep down, I'm hoping that it can be used as easily deployed search and rescue units. Imagine, a flood turned back on itself to aid those in the rubble. That's fun. Originally, this was just something that was, I guess, a little design choice for Sonic Adventure 2, the little artificial chaoses that you find in the game. I don't know if they even explained it in Sonic Adventure 2. I don't know where they would have explained it. There was no, lore entries in that game. Explained why there was, very similar to Chaos-type beings aboard the Ark. When in Sonic Adventure 1, Chaos was an ancient thing, and these were weird technological things that looked like him. I'm sure at that point they were still called artificial chaos in the code or something to that effect. But this is a pretty interesting way of explaining why they're on the Ark, as well as what reason they could have been developed by Gerald Robotnik, who supposedly did everything for peace, but was forced to make weapons and all that stuff. Entry number 530. Research into Project Shadow is in full swing. The first step has been learning how to siphon redacted and emerald energy. Chaos emerald, not sure why the whole thing isn't redacted. And apply it to living tissue. To that end, I've developed the Chaos Drives. Direct application seems too harsh. Any organism that could directly interface with an emerald would be fearsome indeed. Wonder why Sonic can do it, and others. The initial tests were promising, so we're now moving on to the next stage in trials. I will be using salamanders for their regenerative abilities and manageable size. We will begin applying Chaos Drives to the test subject and see how its vitals respond. And to keep Redacted Gun from breathing down my neck, I'm supplying them with Chaos Drives as batteries for their mechanized division. I loathe powering engines of war, but sacrifices have to be made if I'm to save Redacted Maria. I'll figure something out in the long run. I am a genius after all. Oh, these are little collectibles that you find all across Sonic Adventure 2. Are they being retconned into the lore, or were they always part of the lore for some reason? You just kind of collected these as something for Chow Garden, I think. Didn't realize there was a lore behind them. And there's, I assume, Shadow's big brother, Bio Lizard, or one of his siblings. Whatever. Entry number 568. Project Shadow, by the way. We learned that Maria named Shadow, but apparently before that it was called Project Shadow, which is of course going to lead into the creation of Shadow himself. Maybe it was called Project Shadow and then Maria said, hey, that would be a good name for a hedgehog, and said Shadow should be actually named Shadow. I don't know. Project Shadow has reached an impasse. The subject exhibits accelerated cellular growth, to the point it cannot support its own biological systems. I've developed an external life support system to compensate, but it will need to be upgraded and redesigned as the subject continues to grow. The way it thrashes and roars, it is uncontrollable. Furthermore, it is generating unexplained energetic reactions. Is this an expression of the redacted power? Maybe Chaos Emerald or something? Can a living thing produce such energy? Can it be controlled? There are too many questions, and unfortunately, the answers lie in this bio-lizard's life. I will keep it alive and as comfortable as I can, until I have the answers I need. I found a region in the Ark that should be able to safely house it while we continue our experiments. I'm not sure what I will tell Rejected, Maria. I do not want to lie to her, but I think the truth is too cruel. That poor lizard. Entry number 589. Redacted, Maria, is growing into a lovely young woman. It breaks my heart that someone as bright and energetic as her is diminished by disease. There are no physical effects, and I've caught my fellow researchers muttering to each other, doubting her illness. It is infuriating. I find all my reason and restraint vanishes when she is slighted. An interesting line. I guess kind of pointing out the fact that Maria doesn't look like she has an illness, especially from the very early days of her introduction in Sonic Adventure 2. She just looked like a normal girl. But I guess they're kind of tying that into the lore a bit, making it something that she struggled with as well, people doubting her. And yet she remains an unending font of positivity. Even on her worst days, when the fear and pain take hold, she tells me she endures for the day when she can return home. She has total faith in me, and that Project Shadow will cure her. Her family back on Earth has no such faith. It's been so long. Some of the researchers actually think she was born here. Her family either wants her better or wants her home. I can do neither. Somehow their scorn is harsher than the government or the military's increasing pressure for more weapons research. I'm a genius. I have to figure this out. That line about the researchers thinking that she was born on the Ark, that could be, again, I may just be funneling all of this into a single type of thought, but it feels like they're retconning it when they're saying the researchers believed that she was born on the Ark. That maybe there was some lore line somewhere along the line that said Maria was born on the Ark back in the early days, way back when. And this is somehow retconning that by making it say that only some of the researchers believe that when she was actually born on Earth. My only reason for believing that is that the line kind of seems, I don't know, like it could be tied into that, but maybe I'm just super biased into thinking a lot of these are retcons. Entry number 616. Desperate times call for desperate measures, but I am a desperate man. The Black Comet returned to Earth on its 50-year orbit. I had no idea it actually harbored redacted black orbs. Aboard it was redacted, heavily redacted, a lot, but I assume it might be Black Doom, or more than that. Somehow he knew about the redacted, and seemed impressed with my work. He offered me a Faustian deal. I accepted. I assume that redacted is Shadow. Couldn't be really anything else, but this next line, Project Shadow isn't even redacted, so I don't know why. Using his DNA, I was able to overcome every hurdle Project Shadow had put before me. A small sturdy biped I developed can perfectly interact with redacted chaos, presumably energy. Redacted Black Doom wanted me to craft a herald for his future invasion. Redacted wants Project Shadow to generate undying soldiers for them, gun I assume. I will play them both for fools. And there's Black Doom floating. I'm pretty sure this is a screenshot from the Shadow the Hedgehog game, turned into art. Entry number 620. When I launched Project Shadow initially, I named it with scorn and mockery. I was trying to grab hold of an intangible goal. Later it sounded appropriately villainous, as I was toying with the fundamentals of life itself. But then, redacted, Maria, looked upon the unfinished specimen, and put things into a whole new perspective. A shadow tells you which way to go to find the light. In an instant she cut through all my pessimism and doubt, and filled me with hope. Redacted. Shadow, as she's come to call him, will not be some dark creature, but a champion of life and hope. I would not have seen that if not for redacted Maria. She is truly a remarkable person who can do great and wondrous things for the world. I must save her, no matter the cost. And there it is, how Project Shadow became the name Shadow, while also being the name that Maria gave him, even though Project Shadow was something that existed before Maria, or before Maria was involved. Still, the fact that they call it appropriately villainous. Again, it may just be me thinking that everything's a retcon when it isn't, but definitely feels like Shadow was named to be villainous, but they just kind of retconned it to be something more hopeful, more in line with his later character, or his actual character, since the beginning. I feel like that one's probably a more likely retcon. There was probably no big lore reason for why he was called Shadow in the first place. Probably just wanted to call him Shadow to be edgy and cool, right? Entry number 633. I now understand why this being was named Gizoid. In the ancient tongue, it means everything. Interesting that Gizoid isn't redacted. According to the stone tablet, if the Gizoid establishes a link with someone, the Gizoid will swear loyalty to that person. Perhaps it still lacks redacted chaos, I think, energy, but it has been saying the word link to me in broken tones. Just like Sonic Advance, I think that's how Emerald started talking, just saying link over and over. It went on to explain, show me your true strengths, and I shall obey. I am all things, and all shall belong to me. So, as it suggested, I brought it before my collection of model guns and fired them all. Then, suddenly, it said, I shall follow your every command and never leave your side. And since then it refuses to listen to anyone but me. While it still is a fearsome weapon of destruction, while it remains under my control, at least it won't be used for evil. However, if someone with evil intentions ever forms a link with the Gizoid, I don't even want to think about what will happen. I must research how one can re-establish a link with the Gizoid. Entry number 640. The upper echelon is going crazy. Perhaps they aim to freeze Project Shadow. Soon the ultimate life form, Shadow, redacted, will be completed. The application to my granddaughter is also imminent. I cannot just let them stop my study at this point, because I am the only one who can save my granddaughter's life. Entry number 642. The higher-ups are threatening to shut down this research facility. I had no choice but to hand them the Gizoid to buy more time for my research. I tried to be careful and commanded it to never absorb any dangerous technologies. However, I have heard that other researchers have been making the Gizoid absorb weapons. Apparently the way to cause the Gizoid to form a new link is to show it power that surpasses that of its former master. While this poses immense danger, I cannot risk losing redacted Maria. I'm not sure why the upper echelon started trying to freeze research at this point. Did they just suddenly start fearing the power, or I don't know. Entry number 650. The top brass still aren't satisfied. The Gizoid isn't big or flashy enough for them. Oh, maybe I see, they're freezing Project Shadow because it's not weapony enough for them. That's why. The Gizoid isn't big enough or flashy enough for them. Fine. I've developed a weapon I'm calling the Redacted Eclipse Cannon. It taps directly into the Ark's central reactor to produce an unethical degree of firepower. They'll love it. However, to use it on any target on Earth would destroy the world. They'll never be able to fire it. Checkmate. It will, however, be the perfect tool to deal with the Redacted when they return, Black Arms. Eclipse means shadow. This is Redacted's Shadow's cannon. My gift to him in a battle he never asked for. I'm so sorry. This diagram is similar to the diagram that they show of the Space Colony arc in Sonic Adventure 2, when Tails and the rest of the team are coming up with a plan to shut down the Eclipse Cannon, or not shut down the Eclipse Cannon, I guess. Stop it from crashing in, whichever one came first. I remember there was this really neat cross-section that they showed of the entire colony as they were laying out the plan to get deeper into the facility. And I thought it was really cool at the time. Kind of probably instilled with me a love for maps or something at an early age. At least a love for video game maps. What's really interesting about this was... what's that word again? The mutually assured destruction of the design here. It makes sense in a way. Not sure if this is a retcon or not, but more than that. Just in general, developing a weapon that would destroy the Earth doesn't make sense for anyone. Not even, I guess, however trigger-happy the people at Gun are. But in a way, it makes sense for Gerald Robotnik, who would want to develop a weapon to appease those people, but also make a weapon that would never be used. It's kind of crazy, but it kind of makes sense. Of course, the terrible truth is that it does get used, but it's funny to think about. Press zoom in every time, when I meant to. Press the UI to read, whatever. Entry number 651. Redacted, Maria, doesn't know the full scope of what Redacted, Shadow, has been designed for, but she understands he will be under tremendous strain. She's helped me conceptualize a number of accessories that will help focus his power and aid in his mobility. I'm also researching Chaos Control to see if I can gain an understanding of it before Redacted Shadow awakens. The power to stop time and space is incredible, and I don't want him to have to try and learn its intricacies on his own. Deep down, I know this progress is superficial, tangential at best. The larger issue remains. Redacted, Gun. The President. The Redacted, my family. One of those Redacted may be Maria, one of those might be Gun, I don't know. Maybe Black Arms. A lot of things are in his mind. It gleaned there's a rift growing between my sons. My love for them shouldn't be a divisive issue. I'm running out of time. Accessories for Shadow. I don't really recognize these. On the left here. Is this something from Sonic Adventure 2 or Sonic Heroes? Or from this game even? And of course, Shadow's shoes. She's really the one that designed it, huh? I guess... I mean, I would have believed that Gerald designed the shoes. He designed a lot of things, and there's nothing wrong with the aesthetic. But I guess what they're going for is that she designed something kind of whimsical. I don't know. Maybe fashionable is more like it. They're functional. Still. In my head, I imagine maybe Shadow doesn't need the shoes to go fast. If Sonic can go fast and he's like his equal or something. And that maybe he just uses the shoes because there's something that Maria designed, or was part of. Of course, there's no actual backing to that theory or whatever, it's just a thought that crossed my mind. Every time. Entry number 670. It's been a whirlwind of events of late. Project Shadow is complete. And Redacted Shadow has awakened. I pre-programmed a great deal of data into his mind, but his ability to parse it out and apply it to his situation is remarkable. All of his vitals are strong and there seems to be no signs of instability or mutation. He stands in stark contrast to the monster we have sealed below decks. Wow, so he was kind of programmed to be kind of almost an adult from the very get-go. No real childhood for him. No Baby Shadow. I guess that means we're not going to see Baby Shadow in the Sonic 3 movie. Though who knows, maybe. I guess this kind of... knowing that Maria doesn't get much older than she's shown here, it implies that Shadow's time on the Ark was maybe not too long, maybe a year or more at best, or something like that, before everything went south. Didn't live his entire life on the Ark, but that's where everything began. And I guess, wait, that would mean that in Sonic Adventure 2, he's only like a year old or something, because he was cryogenically frozen for 50 years. Well, he's sort of like XJ9, from My Life as a Teenage Robot, in that respect. He may be 1 year old, but he was designed to be an adult. Or whatever. Anyway. But all successes of the physical and mental prowess come second to his relationship to Redacted, Maria. I had hoped they'd get along, but it's far better than that. She is his guide to the world, and he is her stalwart companion. Never have I seen such instant mutual friendship and trust between two beings. I am truly moved. They remind me why I've been working so hard. They bring me hope. Back on Earth. Not sure why it's faded out, but my son and Redacted's parents, Maria's. My son is faded for some reason. Have been blessed with another little girl, the sister Maria mentioned, in an off-handed comment in this game. They've already run tests and she has none of the genetic markers linked to Redacted Maria's condition. While this was welcome news, the unspoken commentary was received loud and clear. I must save Redacted, Maria. I must get my family back. Redacted. Shadow. You're the key to it all. Now I actually looked this up at a different point in time, but... Maria's sister, it seems like that was something that wasn't really talked about in any previous games, or as far as I know, no lore about her sister in any comics or anything to that effect. Only mentioned in this game in that one line and here in the journal. I can't really imagine why they would introduce that plot thread. Unless they plan to use it for something in the future. It doesn't really, as far as I can tell, flesh out anything currently. So it could just be something that they're seeding for themselves later. That could be fun. But she never met her sister, so... their connection may not be too great, other than a genetic one. This is art from Twitter, or it was posted on Twitter, maybe other places, but I know the official Sonic channel kind of like gets a bunch of art every now and then, and this is one of them. And Shadow never turned in his homework. I haven't forgotten. I remember what Maria said, Shadow. You have to be a good student. Actually, since I can hide the UI... let's see... I'm doing this for a thumbnail. I'm going to pick one of these. Probably one of the better ones that shows something like this. Something with more images than text. This will probably be the thumbnail because I spent this entire episode reading the journal. Entry number 670, number 706. Actually, before I move on. Why was my son redacted. Or not redacted, it was faded out. I guess it was crossed out, and that other part was redacted. Interesting. Why did he cross out my son? No longer his son? That doesn't make sense. My worst fears have come true. The Gizoid has absorbed enough weaponry and technology that it has started to go out of control. The resulting rampage led to the destruction of most of the Ark. I have deciphered the rest of the stone tablet. It says, when the Gizoid had learned all that it could, it became a god of wrath, and all was destroyed. The researchers somehow managed to subdue the Gizoid and seal it away. Luckily, it only had one redacted Chaos Emerald installed. If it were to have all 7 redacted emeralds installed, it might destroy the whole planet. The Gizoid is too much of a liability. I tried destroying its core, but nothing I did worked. I understand too little of the technology that built him. My best hope is to try and reprogram its AI into a free-willed, emotions-based AI. I don't know too much about it, but apparently, and again, this is me saying that everything is a retcon, apparently there was some discussion about how there was something from, I think I called it Sonic Advance, but it's actually Sonic Fighters, or no, Sonic Battle. It was Sonic Battle, where the entries that we learned about Emerald, and by extension about Gerald Robotnik, initially talked about how this same thing happened that destroyed the Ark, but I think there was maybe some kind of discrepancy between that and what we're reading now. I don't actually know the full extent, but maybe there was something along the lines of Emerald destroying more of the Ark than he actually did in Sonic Battle, according to that lore. But here they're saying he only destroyed most of the Ark, and then lore continues a little bit after that. I am probably wrong about that. Entry number... unknown. I've lost track of the days. Not very scientific of me. I'm strained. Something has to give. The Gizoid's rampage caused the artificial chaos to behave erratically. I attempted to regain network control by inverting the polarity of the text smears, illegible. So instead, they became violent. Redacted, Shadow, raced across the Ark, pacifying them quite expertly. But the damage is done. An SOS was sent to Redacted. Gun? Automatically. I dread the litigious reprimanding I'll have to endure next. Are those the artificial chaos? Or shadow? Moving very quickly? Oh, and here's where everything goes crazy. It goes crazy earlier, but... why does it happen on like page... whatever? Page 4 and 5. Maybe he comes back at a later point and looks at the entry about the beginning about life on the Ark and sees that's where everything goes wrong. Or maybe it's more about the Chaos Emerald, that's where the mad scrawlings are kind of going crazy. The all-powerful Chaos Emerald or something. I assume it's the Chaos Emerald, or Master Emerald. It seems more crazy on that page than on this page, though I think the earlier page is something that happens later chronologically, while this stuff is more legible. A heritage to the past I dug out, Gizoid, and the ultimate life form I created by my own hand, Redacted, Shadow. I equipped both weapons with a heart. If all powers are not what is to be obtained for oneself, but what is to be born from hearts that yearn for someone, I believe all conflicts should cease to exist. If all powers are not what is to be obtained for oneself, what is to be born from hearts that yearn for someone, I believe all conflicts should cease to exist. Kind of weird English there. Please, if there's anyone listening to my prayers, bring hope to humanity. I think that weird English, again, could be wrong here. I think this is related to some of the scrawlings that we see all the way back in Sonic Adventure 2, in Gerald's prison cell or something. There's like a lot of his scrawlings that appear both in the cell and over some of the what could be called promotional videos that appear in-game for the final act and all of that. I don't quite know what happened or what went wrong. Was it a mistake to create the ultimate life form? I thought it would be something that would benefit mankind. But then the military guards landed on the colony that day. They were sent to destroy the research project that I had been working on. My colleagues at the research facility, my granddaughter, redacted, Maria. I hope you are all safe. The colony was completely shut down. Probably to keep the prototype from falling into the wrong hands. The Ark was shut down under the premise that there had been an accident. Interesting that he doesn't know if Maria is safe at this point. Was he taken off the Ark, and then Maria was moved? Not sure what this binary translates to. Maybe someone already translated that. This could also be a good thumbnail, to show off the mad scrawlings. But why did Gun attack? I'm sure it's been explained over and over again. But I don't see an explanation here. I know they were at first unhappy with the results of the project. I guess they weren't really interested in the Ultimate Lifeform project, but they did like the Eclipse Cannon, didn't they? Or maybe... no. Maybe they didn't like the Eclipse Cannon and had to shut it down after they saw it could destroy the entire world. Like, in a game of poker, Gerald went all in, kind of crazily, developing a weapon that he thought they would like. That could destroy the entire world, but when they looked at it, they saw something they couldn't really control, and decided to fold. And by fold I mean withdraw everything, destroy the entire project. Realize that there's no gain in terms of weaponry that they can get out of the Ark anymore, and just remove everything that they can from it, when they were the ones that pushed him to put everything all in. And then the back cover and interior. I found redacted Maria's name among those who died when the Ark was shut down. She meant everything to me, and I couldn't bear the thought that she died because of my research. I lost everything. I had nothing more to live for. I went insane. All I could think about was to avenge her, somehow, some way. I got scared as I was no longer able to control my thoughts. All I could think about was that I wanted it all to end. Based on my original projections, I was able to complete my project. Redacted. Shadow. I designed its mind to be perfect, pure. I will leave everything to him. If you wish, release and awaken it to the world. If you wish to fill the world with destruction. And that's, I guess, where everything ties into Sonic Adventure 2. Where we see Gerald in his jail cell with the automated message about how the ark would be set to destroy the entire world. I guess at a later point he regretted it and wrote about it in his journal here. Or regretted it enough to allow Shadow to turn the tide. Property of the Eggman Empire. And then repurposed, repossessed. Repossessed by Gun. I think that's Gun's logo on the bottom there. And that's it. Really did spend the entire episode reading the journal. But I liked it. These videos are really just for me, so if I ever come back and want to re-experience the lore of Shadow the Hedgehog himself, then maybe I'll just watch my own video and listen to my own thoughts reading it. I wonder if Shadow, canonically, reads about this journal. In this game, with all of the time going crazy and junk, does he somehow recover Gerald's journal? Does he maybe have some thoughts about the man and everything that happened to him? I'm sure by the time that he came out of cryostasis, he kind of thought that he was on the same page as a scientist, that the professor wanted to destroy the world and he was all for it. But maybe he thought back to it and realized that's probably not what he lived for. Knowing what we know now, he's a guy that lived for humanity, trying to further the purposes of life and create technology for peace. Yeah, Shadow, I know. We've gone on for a little while, so now would be a good time to take a break.